While choosing wedding anniversary photos with my wife at the studio, I discovered intimate photos of her with the photographer on the computer. She and Chen Fong were entangled intimately in the studio, even trying things I had never experienced with her. Su Luo used to say she wanted to take wedding photos with me every anniversary, so I worked hard delivering takeout to save money and booked the best photo studio for her. But I never expected to end up being betrayed like this. Looking at hundreds of intimate photos on the screen, I clenched my fists. Back then, to be with her, I cut ties with my family and earned $1 million in bride price by myself, bought a house and car. In the end, my sincere love was betrayed like this. If that's how it is, I don't want love anymore, and I don't want Su Luo anymore. Mr. Chun said this new set we shot today will definitely satisfy Miss Su. The photo selector enthusiastically showed us the photos taken just this morning. The Mr. Chun she mentioned is Chen Fong, the wedding photographer in charge of our photo shoot. During the first shoot, Su Luo was dissatisfied with one set of photos and had an argument with Chen Fong. After negotiating with the studio, we decided to come back today for a reshoot. I thought they would assign a different photographer for the reshoot, but surprisingly, it was still Chen Fong, and unexpectedly, his attitude was very good today. Su Luo excitedly held my arm, her eyes sparkling as she stared at the computer screen. The photo editor showed us the photos one by one, and we kept the ones we liked. This one looks great. This one is beautiful too. Honey, can I keep them all? Every single photo turned out so well. Su Luo looked at me with sweet coquettishness. I couldn't say no to her when she was like this. All right, keep all the ones you like. I lovingly poked Su Luo's little head. In the photos, Su Luo's smile was radiant and bright, making it impossible to look away. Baby, your eyes were closed in this one. What a shame, I took such a great photo. Su Luo gave me an annoyed glance. Haha, it's all my fault. Don't be angry. You're already so beautiful. 1 or 2 mistakes won't matter. The next one will be even better. Just as I finished speaking, something unforgettable appeared on the screen. It showed Su Luo completely undressed, with a dazed look in her eyes. The 3 people watching the screen froze. I instinctively grabbed the mouse from the photo editor and started flipping through the photos regardless of others present. They were all intimate photos of Su Luo and Chen Fong. The photos were taken from Chen Fong's perspective, with backgrounds of changing rooms, makeup rooms, bathrooms, and even balconies. Given how many people come and go in the shop daily, how reckless must they have been to do such things there? In the photos, Su Luo was lying unclothed on the sofa, changing positions to accommodate Chen Fong. The scenes were truly appalling. I suddenly felt like my head was on a vast green prairie, staring in shock at Su Luo, who had already turned pale. Su Luo's hands were ice cold as she reached for the mouse, but rage had consumed my mind. Even though her nails had drawn blood from the back of my hand, she couldn't move me an inch. Standing in front of the screen, I said with a trembling voice, "No wonder you insisted on reshooting and wanted to come try on makeup alone. So it was to secretly sleep with another man." "No, baby, let me explain." Su Luo looked panicked as she tried to reach out and pull me. I instinctively stepped back, catching sight of Chen Fong standing upstairs. He was watching us with an amused expression, as if enjoying a new show. My dignity as a man was completely shattered at that moment. As rage surged through me, I rushed upstairs and got into a fight with Chen Fong. To make money, I only sleep 3 to 4 hours a day. My health has been severely overdrawn, making me physically weaker than Chen Fong. I was quickly pinned down by Chen Fong. "Your wife came on to me first. It would be a waste not to enjoy a free meal." Chen Fong looked down at me and mocked. She even offered to help me with that. You know what I mean? And she was quite skilled and wild. Like that main wedding dress we photographed this morning. She wore it when playing with me for over an hour the day before yesterday. She was so eager, didn't even let me use protection. Chen Fong's words echoed throughout the store, and everyone cast complicated looks at me. Everyone seemed to be holding back their laughter. How is this any different from torture? Look how pitiful that man is, his wife openly having an affair with another man. His head is glowing green. How tragic. The most unbearable pain for a man is catching them in the act. What an eye-opener. The bride sleeping with the photographer. Now that's something you don't see every day. Discussions erupted around me, and in an instant, endless humiliation surrounded me, making it hard to breathe. I struggled free from Chen Fong's restraint and fled from the bridal shop in disarray. When I got home and saw the sofa, scenes of Su Luo and Chen Fong's passionate moments flooded my mind. I felt sick and rushed to the bathroom to vomit violently. Su Luo followed me home, standing at the doorway in panic, not daring to speak. "I'm sorry, I didn't expect he would release those photos." She's directly admitting it, not even bothering to explain to me. I gave a small laugh. "Let's get divorced, Su Luo." "I don't want a divorce." Su Luo burst into tears. "I feel sick just looking at you now." "Su Luo, what about me was so unsatisfying that you had to betray me like this?" I looked at Su Luo with utter unwillingness, my voice trembling. Jingwen, I was wrong this time. I made a mistake. I'll apologize. Please don't leave me. Su Luo fell to her knees with a thud, begging me. We've been married for less than a year, and I've tried my best to fulfill all your wishes. Besides my regular job, I have to work part-time, sleeping only 3 to 4 hours a day, just to give you a better life. To have a home with you. I even gave up my family. I really tried my best. I never expected you to do anything for me. I just wanted your sincere heart, but you couldn't even give me that. What's the point of us being together? I asked weakly. Thinking of the sweet memories from the past, everything I saw today seemed as unreal as a dream. I just wanted to escape from this suffocating place as quickly as possible. We can't get divorced. Jingwen, I'm pregnant. I just got the test results yesterday. It's been almost 2 months. It's our child. It has nothing to do with Qin Fang. What happened between him and me was really just a moment of impulse. Su Luo's sudden news hit me like a sledgehammer. You're saying you're pregnant? I couldn't believe it and asked her repeatedly for confirmation. We got married in a hurry because of an unexpected pregnancy back then. But sadly, we lost the baby a month after the marriage. We were both depressed for a long time because of this. It's true, I'm pregnant. Seeing that my emotions had calmed down, Su Luo's eyes flashed with joy as she quickly took out the medical report from her bag. I was planning to surprise you at dinner tonight, but I didn't expect. Jingwen, we're going to have our own baby. Can we not get divorced? I don't want our child to be born without a father. This is the child we've been waiting for. Su Luo looked at me with deep affection and said earnestly, my mind is in complete chaos right now, making it difficult to make a decision. Having lost a child before, I really can't bear to part with this one. However, Su Luo's actions have completely destroyed the feelings between us, making it impossible to reconcile. I sat in the living room, wrestling with my thoughts all night, and finally decided to postpone the divorce until after Su Luo gives birth to the child. No matter what, the child is innocent. And so, we went back to being seemingly normal husband and wife. I still went to work and earned money as usual, working hard to plan for the child's future. As for Su Luo, I haven't figured out how to face her calmly. Even now, when I see the sofa, camera, or hear words like wedding photos, I still feel instinctively sick to my stomach. Those scenes are etched in my mind like a nightmare. Su Luo has changed a lot lately. She who never did any housework before has started doing chores. She's not spending money as lavishly as before either. Although we're not as intimate as before, I still accompany her to every prenatal checkup. I also carefully prepare various nutritious meals for her. But this improvement didn't last long, and Su Luo returned to her previous willful ways. Every time she sees me frown, Su Luo brushes me off by blaming it on pregnancy mood swings. Since there was no substantial harm, I didn't bother arguing with her about it. Baby, I feel so bored staying at home all day. I want to go out for a walk to clear my mind. Su Luo said with a bored expression, hugging snacks while curled up on the couch. I thought about it and agreed that going out would be good. A happy mood during pregnancy would be beneficial for the baby. I transferred 30,000 to her card and reminded her to be careful and take good care of herself and the baby. Su Luo excitedly jumped off the couch and gave me a big kiss. I silently turned and went to the bathroom to wash up for a few minutes. Ding dong. A phone message notification. Hello, Mr. Liu. The True Love series wedding photos you took at our store have been printed. Please confirm your delivery information so we can send them to you later. It was a message from the wedding photo studio. Please burn them all. I casually replied. After Su Luo left, she would send me her location and photos every day to keep me updated. This was something she had never done before. In the past, I would have been too excited to sleep, but now, I start to resist her active advances. Brother, you're so thin. You should eat more meat. Don't just eat vegetables. After the lunch rush hour, while we were resting by the roadside, a fellow delivery guy who I often run into said to me with a smile. I politely acknowledged his concern. In the moment I turned my head, I seemed to catch a glimpse of mockery flashing in his eyes. I thought I was being oversensitive and didn't think much of it. In the evening, when I returned home from work and reached the entrance of the residential complex, the security guard suddenly asked with concern, Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Why haven't I seen your wife coming to pick you up lately? You two used to be like conjoined twins. Oh, she's away traveling, not at home. I responded with a smile. Just as I entered home, I received a message from Su Luo. Baby, I'm sorry, I won't make it back for Valentine's Day tomorrow. Sorry you'll have to spend it alone. I'll make it up to you when I get back. Love you infinitely, your wifey Luo Luo. I replied with a and put down my phone to shower and rest. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. There will be many lucrative delivery orders. I decided to work the entire day. Now in my heart, there's only that unborn child. The next morning, I left home very early. As long as the pay is good enough, I'll take orders no matter how far. Around 1 a.m., I received an urgent order from Zhongxin Complex 2 kilometers away with a delivery fee of 100 yuan. just to deliver a box of condoms. This situation wasn't unusual, so I didn't think much about it and immediately accepted the order, heading out to deliver. When I arrived at the customer's door, I rang the doorbell, and a man's voice responded, but when the door opened, it was a woman's hand that reached out. The woman's manicure looked strangely familiar. I couldn't recall where I had seen it before. To avoid delaying other orders, I hurriedly continued on my way. But just as the elevator door was closing, a large hand stopped it, and outside stood a man wearing only a bath towel. He said anxiously, "Brother, I need your help. My wife is bleeding. Could you help me carry her downstairs?" Since it was a matter of life and death, I followed the man into the room without hesitation. In the room, on the large bed, a woman wearing a bathrobe was looking in panic at the blood continuously flowing from between her legs. The room was dimly lit with warm light, and with my windproof goggles on and her hair covering half of her face, I couldn't see her features clearly. By now the woman was too frightened to speak, and remained motionless as the man and I carried her down to the basement garage. The man brought the car around and asked me to help support the woman in the back while he drove to the hospital. During those few minutes on the way to the hospital, the woman was close to fainting due to massive blood loss. Cold sweat mixed with strands of hair stuck to her face, and the small patch of visible skin was frighteningly pale. That face had an inexplicable sense of familiarity. We soon arrived at the hospital. As we entered the hospital lobby, the lights revealed the woman's white robe had been stained red with blood, a shocking sight. Doctors and nurses rushed to give her emergency treatment. When the nurse brushed the hair away from her face, I was completely stunned. That face, it was Sue Luo. Why was she here? Wasn't she supposed to be traveling in City A? She had just sent me photos at noon to check in. How did she end up at another man's house at night? The flood of information was overwhelming. As it all rushed into my mind at once, my world turned upside down and my legs gave way, causing me to collapse onto the floor. While Sue Luo was rushed into surgery, that man got a blanket from a nurse, sat outside the operating room playing games, and occasionally chatted with his teammates on voice chat. How unlucky, coming to the hospital late at night has ruined my gaming streak. Wow, skilled player, doing surgery while gaming. Not me, it's my woman. Ugh, when women get pregnant, it's such a hassle. Can't fully enjoy intimacy anymore. No wonder so many men have affairs during their wives' pregnancy. Brother, are you crazy? Still being intimate while she's pregnant? Be careful, you could harm both lives. She's not my wife, she's just someone I keep around. Wow, sounds like there's more to this story. Is the child yours? The teammate's curiosity successfully provoked the man's competitive spirit. Of course the child is mine. She wouldn't dare have anyone else's. How can you be so sure it's not her husband's? The teammate's voice carried a challenging tone. She only takes precautions with her husband, not with me, so it can only be mine. The man looked confidently at his phone screen, where the game characters were in fierce combat. You'd risk your own child like that? Aren't you worried about harming them? We must ruin her. That awful woman, sleeping with other men while pregnant, without protection too. Who knows if that scoundrel has contaminated my son? The man's demeanor suddenly changed, becoming furious and bursting into a rage. Brother, your family drama has so many twists and turns. We've certainly witnessed quite a show tonight. Pity that husband who worked so hard only to harvest nothing, or rather got sesame seeds instead of melons. He's the only truly wronged one here. Waves of laughter came from the teammates. So, even the child isn't mine. How foolish I was to make the child my emotional anchor all this time, struggling to hold on. Now this pillar of support has suddenly sprouted countless thorns, leaving me riddled with wounds. I helplessly curled up, trying to block out everything around me. Looking back on this past year with Sue Luo, it all seems like a joke. Actually, I wasn't blind to how incompatible we were, I just couldn't let go. I thought if I was tolerant and accommodating enough, everything would work out. But that's not true. When things aren't right, they just aren't right. We're simply from different worlds. I thought I had found true love, only to fall into a bottomless abyss. The pregnant woman is hemorrhaging severely now. We need to remove her uterus. Please notify the family to sign the consent form. The doctor held the surgery consent form, anxiously waiting for the man to sign. Upon hearing how serious the situation had become, the man quickly tried to distance himself. I'm not her family member. She has a husband. I'm just a good Samaritan who brought her here. Then may I ask if you know the patient? I don't know her. The man nodded repeatedly. The patient's condition is extremely critical. We need to perform surgery immediately. We also need to prepare for blood transfusion. Sir, are you blood type A? No, I'm blood type B. The man shook his head again without hesitation. The doctors and nurses present felt a helpless frustration, like trying to reach through a screen, but unable to. Anyone with eyes could see their relationship wasn't ordinary, and this man was clearly lying. I'm the patient's husband, here's my ID card, and I consent to sign for the immediate surgery. Also, I'm type A blood, in good heal. TH, and can donate blood right away. I approached the doctor, removed my mask, took the surgical consent form, and quickly signed it. The doctors and nurses were startled by my sudden appearance as the legitimate husband. Good. Proceed with the surgery immediately. Take Mr. Liu for blood donation. The pregnant woman has lost too much blood. I calmly followed the nurse out. The astonished man beside us didn't say another word throughout. It was past 4 a.m. when Su Luo was out of danger. That man had long since left. I returned home alone, changed into casual clothes, and placed the already prepared divorce papers on the living room coffee table. Then I left this former home without looking back, the house I had bought outright for Su Luo before our marriage. I thought we would spend our lives here peacefully, but we couldn't even make it through a year. At the entrance of the community, there was a limited edition Rolls-Royce parked, with passers-by taking photos with their phones. Young master, here are the car keys. The master and madam are waiting for you at home. Welcome back. I casually took the keys from Assistant Lee's hand and drove away under everyone's envious gaze. After being away from the Liu mansion for nearly a year, my father's taste hasn't changed a bit. The house decorations have become even more luxurious, perhaps even a bit over the top. You little rascal, you finally decided to come back. My mother came up and gave me a hard pinch, making me wince in pain. All right, it's good that you're back. The family hasn't had a meal together in a long time. Whatever big issues there are, let's discuss them after dinner. My father lovingly stopped my mother's assault and guided her to sit at the dining table. He gave me a man-to-man look. Everything happening in Lin City was under my father's watchful eye. For Chen Fong's incident, there were so many people at the scene, yet not a single trending topic appeared. My father must have handled it behind the scenes. He couldn't be kept in the dark about the hospital matter either. After all private hospitals in Lin City are Liu family's properties. Dad, thanks. I raised my glass and drank it all at once. Jingwen, Liu family's men know when to bend and when to stand tall. Let the past be past. Consider it a life lesson. My father looked at me meaningfully, with subtle concern in his eyes. Between men, some things don't need to be said explicitly. Just an eye contact and a toast will do. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the magnificent ceiling as memories came flooding back. My encounter with Su Luo started with an accident. That night, I was drunk, and when I woke up, I found myself naked in her embrace. I fell in love with her at first sight, so I took that accident as an opportunity to pursue her. Later she told me she was pregnant, and we both thought it was the fruit of love from that accidental night. I decided to marry her. However, my family strongly opposed it. As the only son in my family, I had always been headstrong and stubborn since childhood. I left home without saying a word. To show my determination to marry her, I voluntarily cut off my family's financial support. I redeemed the money I had previously invested in a project with my friend. My friend strongly opposed it at the time, saying that the project was just starting to make money and had unlimited potential. Withdrawing now would be a huge loss. But I didn't listen and insisted on withdrawing. I gave Suwa 2 million as bride price, and before getting married, I bought her a car and a house, both paid in full. I wanted to hold a wedding ceremony for her, but Suwa refused, saying that buying her a bag would be enough, and she didn't want a wedding. So, after simply getting our marriage certificate, we began our newlywed life. Suwa was curious about everything and wanted to try everything. I went along with all her wishes, and naturally, money flowed like water. In less than half a year, all our savings were gone, and we could only rely on my salary to get by. To avoid making Su Luo feel any gap between us, I took many part-time jobs, including food delivery. From being a young master of the Liu family surrounded by luxury cars and beautiful women who spent money without blinking, I became a delivery guy on an electric bike, getting cursed at by customers for a few dollars in delivery fees. Looking back now, I feel how ridiculous and foolish I was. The reminiscence ends, back to reality. The old phone keeps showing notifications of new calls and messages. I know they're from Su Luo. When I left the hospital, she was already awake and probably knew what happened afterward. Jingwen, where are you? The doctor said you signed for me and gave me blood. Are you feeling all right? About Gu Hui, I can explain. Can we talk properly after I'm discharged? Jingwen, did something happen to you? Why aren't you answering calls or messages? I'm worried about you. Could you please respond when you see this? Looking at these messages one by one, I felt a mix of emotions. I turned off the phone and threw it back into the drawer. Su Luo is now someone who has nothing to do with me anymore. I need to start a new life. Although I tried to focus my energy on work, the wounds in my heart still tormented me every night. I often woke up startled from dreams, my clothes soaked with cold sweat. Gradually, I began to develop stress reactions to all women. With no other choice, my good friend Guolin introduced me to a very famous psychologist. That's how I met Dr. Lin Xian. I became afraid of seeing any woman, including my mother. Yet strangely, when facing Lin Xian, my heart remained calm and felt secure. Indeed, healers are genderless, and in patients' eyes, Dr. Wars can be genderless too. Under Lin Xian's careful treatment, I slowly became able to sleep without relying on medication. Thank you, Dr. Lin. You're literally my lifesaver. I looked at Lin Xian with excitement. This isn't just my achievement. Your active cooperation played a big role too. I believe you'll make a full recovery soon. Lin Xian responded softly, with a gentle smile in the corners of her eyes. I heard you're Guolin's cousin. Are you free this weekend? Let me treat you both to dinner. I extended the invitation to Lin Xian. Sure. Getting Lin Xian's approval made me overjoyed. By this time, 2 months had passed since I left Su Luo. I had tossed my old phone in a drawer and hadn't looked at it since. Life without Su Luo had completely returned to normal, except for the occasional visits to the therapist. My father was the happiest. Since my return, the family business had improved significantly. Many projects could be secured just with my involvement, making things much easier for him. Recently, he even had time to travel abroad with my mother, enjoying their private time without work interruptions. On Saturday, I made a reservation at a newly opened restaurant. But Guolin told me last minute that he couldn't make it due to an emergency. So in the end, it was just Lin Xian and me. That evening, Lin Xian wore a fresh and elegant dress, quite different from her usual work attire. Usually, she appeared more cool and reserved, with a faint smile, yet never felt unapproachable. My cousin had something urgent to attend to. He notified me in advance. Lin Xian took the initiative to break the silence. Then let's split his portion. Take a look and see if there are any dishes you like. After leaving the hospital, this was my first time being alone with Lin Xian. I felt a bit nervous. Why don't you order for me, Mr. Liu? I'm not picky about food. Lin Xian smiled softly, gesturing for me to choose for her. I briefly asked about her dietary restrictions and carefully selected a few dishes. Have you been feeling more natural around women lately? Lin Xian asked. Yes, much better. Now I don't even dodge when my mom hugs me. She got so excited she cried. I joked. Uffed. Lin Xian covered her mouth as she laughed. I've heard that Mr. Liu's family has a great atmosphere. Seems it's true. It's all right. We're all like friends. Just call me by my name from now on. Being called Mr. Liu feels a bit too formal. I raised my wine glass, looking at Lin Xian, and said seriously, all right, then you can call me Xian too. Just as our conversation was shifting from stiff to relaxed, a nearby waitress accidentally spilled wine on Lin Xian. I'm sorry, miss. I didn't mean to. The waitress kept bowing and apologizing. Lin Xian calmly stood up, took the handkerchief from my hand, and consoled the waitress while wiping the red wine off herself. It's okay. I know you didn't mean to. Don't worry. You can go about your business. Looking at Lin Xian, who remained composed and spoke gently, I felt ripples in my heart. Wait, why did that voice sound so familiar just now? My heart sank as I turned to look at the waitress in horror. Su Luo. The moment our eyes met, my hands began to tremble uncontrollably. Jingwen, how have you been lately? Su Luo's voice was hoarse, and the spirit that once filled her eyes was gone. I'm fine. I suppressed my discomfort and responded calmly. But the bulging veins on my forehead caught Lin Xian's attention. Lin Xian quickly came to my side, handed me a glass of warm water, and instructed me. Take deep breaths and drink the water in small sips. Are you Mr. Liu's ex-wife? After comforting me, Lin Xian turned her gaze back to Su Luo. We haven't divorced yet. Su Luo replied timidly. Didn't I give you the divorce papers long ago? I looked up at Su Luo in surprise. I don't want a divorce, Jingwen. I think we can still make it work. How can we make it work? I don't even know how many men you have out there. How can I dare to stay with you? I've left them all. Now I truly only have you. Su Luo tried desperately to explain, attempting to reach out and touch me. I quickly stepped back and warned coldly. Don't touch me. Whoever you're with now is none of my business. Please sign the divorce papers within 3 days, or else we'll meet in court. I pulled Lin Xian along and fled from the restaurant. But Su Luo followed persistently behind us. Jingwen, I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I miss you so much. Every time I return home and see the empty house, I recall all those beautiful moments we shared. I regret so much for not cherishing you then and hurting your heart. Su Luo followed closely behind us, speaking loudly. Passers-by cast strange glances at us. The once buried memories were awakened again, and those unbearable scenes flooded my mind. I crouched down in pain, covering my ears tightly. Actually, they all knew that Su Luo had cheated on me, like the security guard in the neighborhood and the delivery guy who worked the same route. They must have been mocking me behind my back. Surely everyone knew about it, including the pedestrians around. They must be laughing at me too. Lu Jingwen, open your eyes and look at me. Among the chaos, Lin Xian's voice clearly woke me up. I suddenly opened my eyes to see Lin Xian before me, his brows furrowed with worry. Miss Su, if you continue to disturb my patient, I'll have to call the police. Lin Xian sternly warned Su Luo, then turned around, put me in the car, and took me away. That night, I had insomnia again. You must face this shadow directly. Avoiding it will only make you sink deeper. These were Lin Xian's parting words. I decided to meet Su Luo one more time. When I returned to the residential complex where I used to live with Su Luo, even the security guard's gaze at me had changed. Your apartment has been sold. Miss Su moved away from here half a month ago. I hurriedly called Su Luo, and she said she was sick, gave me a new address, and asked me to come over. Su Luo's new place was a single room in an urban village. The place was dilapidated, with cockroaches and bugs everywhere. I stood in the cramped room, with nowhere even to sit. Su Luo took out a new towel, laid it on the stool, and gestured for me to sit down. Thank you for still being willing to see me. Su Luo looked unwell with her weak voice and pale face. Are you sick? Have you seen a doctor? I asked calmly. It's nothing, just a cold. I've taken some medicine. After a moment of silence, Su Luo handed me the signed divorce agreement. I agree to the divorce. Su Luo's eyes glistened with tears as she continued. Meeting you was my greatest fortune. But I'm not worthy of you, so letting go is the only compensation I can offer. You did nothing wrong. You are good, very good. I hope you can forget all of this and start anew. Dr. Lin is a good person. You should seize this opportunity. Su Luo showed a bright smile, her eyes filled with both blessing and acceptance. Since those incidents happened, I hadn't dared to look at Su Luo's face for more than 10 seconds, but now, I could naturally look at her directly again. All right, I wish you happiness too. Although I still had doubts in my heart, like why sell the house and car? Why move alone to such a messy place? Why? But in the moment of letting go, I felt these things weren't so important anymore. From now on, we part ways and wish each other well. The moment I walked out of Su Luo's home, I felt the scenery before me was incredibly clear. I felt refreshed and lighthearted. Lin Xian, let's go on a date tomorrow. On impulse, I sent a date invitation to Lin Xian. Ding dong. Sure, Lin Xian replied immediately. When I received the call from the police station and arrived there, I saw 3 carbonized bodies laid out before me. After identity verification, the identities of the 3 deceased have been basically confirmed. 2 men and 1 woman. They are Gu Hui, Chen Fong, and Su Luo. When I heard the last name from the officer's mouth, my breathing stopped, and I remained in shock for a long while. Officer, could there be a mistake in the verification? Miss Su and I just met yesterday. How could she today? There's no mistake. We've carefully verified the surveillance footage nearby, and Miss Su's confession letter. The families of the other 2 are on their way. As for Miss Su, your number, Mr. Liu, was the only one saved in her phone. E-contacts, so we had to ask you to come help with the identification. May I ask what happened? I tried to stay calm as I asked. According to our investigation, Chun and Gu had been threatening and blackmailing Miss Su for a long time. So Miss Su lured them to an empty warehouse, which she had doused with gasoline, to negotiate. During their argument, the gasoline was accidentally ignited. This is Miss Su's phone. It fortunately fell into a water bucket nearby and was preserved. Please help us contact her family to collect her remains. The officer handed Su Luo's phone to me. I entered my birthday, and the phone unlocked immediately. What caught my eye was a draft message. I will take all the memories that hurt you and disappear into ashes, including myself. Recipient, Lu Jingwen. I gripped my phone tightly as warm tears silently rolled down. Su Luo, we're even now. Su Luo's side story. I was an abandoned baby, taken in and raised by my adoptive father Su Chun. When I was 15, he raped me. I endured silently, so he would pay for a few more years of my education and beat me less. Just endure a bit longer, I told myself. Once I'm of age, I can escape this home. I counted the days on my fingers until I turned 18. That year, my adoptive father Su Chun took up with a wealthy widow. Fearing his crimes would be discovered, he sold me to Gu Hui for 10,000. Gu Hui was 10 years older than me and the son of a factory owner. He knew about what happened between me and my adoptive father. While he despised me as being too sullied to marry, he still wanted me to bear him a son. And so, we maintained a relationship as lovers. Until I met Lu Jingwen on my 21st birthday. I was pregnant with Gu Hui's child at the time. Yes, that child that Lu Jingwen has been so hung up about, the one that was accidentally lost, was actually Gu Hui's. Gu Hui disliked me being pregnant as it made intimacy inconvenient, and he complained about the cost of supporting me, so he decided to find someone to take over. He began looking for candidates at the bar where I worked. Then he targeted Lu Jingwen, who appeared talented and seemed easy to manipulate. Gu Hui drugged him, stripped him, and left him in a hotel room. I merely slept beside him for one night, and through this deception, I got him. At that time, I didn't know his true family background, thinking his family was just middle class, not great but adequate. He fell into our trap easily, willing to break ties with his family to marry me. Later, he actually did it, giving me 2 million in bride price, which was all taken by Gu Hui. Only the house and car actually came into my possession. He treated me very well and gently, never raising his voice at me, complying with all my wishes. I began living a life where everything was handed to me. I no longer needed to work odd jobs to support myself. Although Eugene Wen protected me well, I still couldn't escape from Gu Hui's control. I had to accompany him regularly every month. I lost the baby during an intimate encounter with him. To cover up the truth, Gu Hui pushed me down the stairs without batting an eye, fabricating an accident. Lu Jingwen was heartbroken for a long time about the miscarriage. Every time I saw the regret in his eyes, my heart ached. I knew very well that Gu Hui would never let me have a child with another man. He threatened me, saying if I dared to have a child with someone else, he would strangle the baby. Later I met Chen Fong, during a time when Lu Jingwen was busiest, and I had just been upset by Gu Hui, when I was emotionally most unstable. So, as if bewitched, I fell for Chen Fong's sweet talk and accepted him. That was the thing I regret most. As for the matters with my foster father and Gu Hui, I was a victim. I was forced. The affair with Chen Fong was entirely my own fault. To Lu Jingwen, I was nothing but a complete abuser. Because of this exposure, Lu Jingwen was thoroughly disappointed in me, and he dejectedly proposed divorce. For the first time, I felt real fear. Once again, I used our child as an excuse to bind him to me. I knew this was cruel to him, but I was more afraid of losing him. He was such a wonderful person, capable enough to make me fall in love with him in less than a year. On Valentine's Day, I wanted to hurry home to spend the holiday with him. I had even bought the cake. But Gu Hui threatened me to accompany him. I couldn't refuse, so I had to give in to Gu Hui. Never did I expect an accident would happen, letting Lu Jingwen witness such a disgraceful side of me. The child was gone, and so was my uterus. When I learned that I could no longer be a mother, I surprisingly felt a sense of relief. Without a uterus, would I be able to escape from Gu Hui? But this time it truly shattered Lu Jingwen's trust in me, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep him anymore. When I got home and saw the divorce papers on the coffee table, my heart was torn apart. It was Gu Hui who discovered that Lu Jingwen was from a wealthy third-generation family. He teamed up with Chen Fong, who had been blacklisted from the industry due to some intimate photos, to blackmail me with my nude pictures. Initially, to settle the matter quietly, I sold my house and car to give them money. Later, their demands grew larger, and they threatened to sell the photos to the media and expose Lu Jingwen's humiliation. I knew that incident had become Lu Jingwen's trauma, and I couldn't let him get hurt again. That boy who was willing to give up a life of luxury just to give me a home deserves a better future. And now, my life is the only bargaining chip I have left. I've decided to take everything that threatens Lu Jingwen to hell with me. Before I die, I want to apologize to Lu Jingwen. One last time, but even though I edited the message countless times on my phone, I never had the courage to hit send. I threw my phone into the water and took one last look at this world. The scorching heat of the raging fire is not half as warm as Lu Jingwen.